Timothy Force looks to major in English and minor in economics and Latin. He has a 3.64 grade point average. His future plans include business ownership and farming. On campus, he volunteers for A Few Good Men, belongs to the Catholic Society, and works as a house director in the Suites. He also plays on the club soccer team. Beside his campus activities, he assists with a youth ministry at the St. Anthony Catholic Church. He previously belonged to the Boy Scouts, where he reached the rank of Eagle. Tim is the third of 4 children. His younger brother is a post-secondary student. The family resides in Colorado Springs, Colorado. His father is employed in sales, and his mother is self-employed.
Thank you, Dr. Whalen, and thank you, Larissa. I would also like to thank Grounds and Maintenance for this wonderful setup on the East Lawn. And finally, I would like to thank the college's horticulturalist, Angie, for the work she does for this school, including the arrangements you see here today. I am truly humbled to speak before all of you today, but I would like to spare you any sort of congratulations. You already know that you have the envy of all your dad's friends who watch conservative talk radio, and I already know that Hillsdale is the best college in the nation. For goodness sakes, if the trend is continuing, then you are the most intelligent class that this school has ever admitted, which means that you had options, lots of options, and yet you are sitting here. So in lieu of congratulating you for something that you already know is a spectacular accomplishment, I would like to simply share with you the single most formative thing that I have learned during my time here. This important lesson had, like most important lessons, been a lifetime in the making, but the most crucial steps were not taken until my own freshman convocation, the day that I entrusted my education in the liberal arts to Hillsdale College. My freshman year far exceeded my expectations. My high school senior bravado was certainly knocked down a couple notches by rigorous academics, and my increased independence showed me that my parents had done much more for me than I had ever known. Despite these couple of tough realizations, my first semester here at Hillsdale pushed me to a before unknown level of intellectual activity. Dr. Kaltoff made his Western Heritage class consider the nature of the well-ordered life. Dr. Gaetano gave his American Heritage class way too much information about the private life of William Byrd, and he warned us about the dangerous ideas of those who wish to immanentize the eschaton. I cannot wait for you all to understand what I just alluded to. And Dr. Lindley showed his great books class that Polyphemus the Cyclops is not simply one of Homer's mythical creatures, but also a lesson to readers that we have 2 eyes for a reason, and the perspective provided by these 2 eyes should not be wasted. I somewhat mistakenly believed that coming to understand these ideas was the sole reason I attended this prestigious academic institution. It was not until my sophomore year in one of Dr. Schlueter's philosophy classes that a single sentence showed me that Hillsdale was offering me much more, if only I would let it. The sentence comes from an incredible 1965 document called Gaudium et Spes, which translates from the Latin into joy and hope. It's a lovely title. The sentence reads, "Man, who is the only creature on earth which God willed for itself, cannot fully find himself except through a sincere gift of himself." I am not equipped to dissect all the intricacies of this statement, plus I do not want to burden you with a lengthy digression, but I can tell you that it was largely this statement that formed the man standing before you today. If I may, I would like to dial back the philosophical tenor of this sentence and paraphrase it as, a human being, due to his likeness to God, is unlike any other created thing, and therefore does not fully become a human being until he can selflessly give himself to something other than himself. Naturally, I needed to take this paraphrase one step further and read the sentence as, I, Tim Force, profoundly and beautifully resemble my Creator. In order to become what my Creator intended me to be, I must fully submit my life to things and people other than myself. I might just be a nerd, but seriously, this changes everything. First of all, it radically altered my perception of Hillsdale's liberal arts education. I discovered that the reality of the liberal arts is not contained in Lane, Kendall, Strosacker, or Dow, but rather the classroom simply provides us with the raw materials with which we can fully understand ourselves. It is then our responsibility to steward these raw materials, and by means of conversation and reflective thought, learn who we are and who we ought to be. Once we come to a fuller understanding of ourselves, then we can willingly and holistically give our lives to other people or pursuits. Secondly, this lesson I learned about giving myself to others changed the way I perceive hardship. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. When the last couple of weeks of each semester roll around, you will be tired, you will be homesick, and you will probably wonder why you willingly pay for the end of the semester abuse. Having felt all those feelings 6 times, I can tell you that that what I was feeling was really just cleverly disguised egoism. In those closing weeks of the semester, I'm prone to forget that my primary concern should not be my GPA, my reputation, and my desire to get home. Rather, I should strive to be fully myself. And to do this, I must recommit myself to giving my life to the higher calling of education, to my close friends who continually give their lives to me, to my parents who simply want to know that they are loved and appreciated, and to all the other people who I should be treating as neighbors. I promise you that this is easier said than done. But if on a daily basis you can sincerely recommit yourself to those people and purposes, then your egoism will not fuel your self-pity during those difficult situations. I feel inclined to warn you that this sort of radical gift of self is not always possible by human means alone. So I implore you to nurture a vibrant prayer life, a prayer life in which you can give yourself to the divine, and with which you can ask God for the graces to give yourself to other people and purposes. I would now like to cite 3 concrete examples of the joy and fulfillment of a life lived for others. My first example comes from an experience I had early in my freshman year. One night after a particularly disheartening attempt to write a paper in the old Student Union lab, I started a dejected 3 a.m. walk back to Simpson 1FN. I intended to wallow in some self-pity before getting some well-needed sleep, but my hallmate Eli West had a different idea. Eli saw my vulnerability, and other than exploiting it, he decided to share his own vulnerabilities. Only God knows why he was awake at that horrible hour, but instead of focusing on his own troubles, he gifted his life to me by means of a short prayer and his time. Eli taught me a critical lesson about self-gift that night, and for that, he should be giving this speech. But at the very least, find him, and if you live on his hall in Simpson, you have an invaluable friend. My second example comes from my sophomore roommate, Tyler Wilkie. The men of Need felt endearingly called him Haas, which was fitting because he practically sweat self-gift. Almost every weekend, he would make the 5-hour trip to his family's farm in northern Illinois, tend cattle and harvest crops for 2 days, start his homework around 11 o'clock Sunday night, and amazingly be prepared for class on Monday. If that is not enough, he helped build sets for the drama department and was a key volunteer in A Few Good Men. He even went so far as to haul a plow truck from his farm to Hillsdale, and he enlisted me to voluntarily plow 10 driveways anytime it snowed. That is a big commitment in South Central Michigan. You might be saying that it does not sound like academics were his top priority, and you would be right. He put much before his schoolwork. Yet as we speak, he is working through his 2nd year at Drake Law School. Tyler Wilkie taught me that somehow it is possible to never be too busy to give yourselves to others. My third example comes from a very recent experience. Come next Sunday, my wife and I will have shared 3 full and happy months of marriage. That sentence from Gaudium et Spes truly came into focus as I stood with her before the altar. And now, every day, I enjoy her gift of self to me, and I get to continually practice giving myself to her. I can tell you with certainty that the most important date in the last 4 years of my life will not be my first or last day here at Hillsdale, but rather June 4th, the day that Perry Rose taught me the full meaning of that powerful sentence from Gaudium et Spes. I thank all of you for your time and your decision to join in the partnership of Hillsdale College. I would like to leave you with this. The best gift that you can give this institution, and certainly the best gift that you can give any person, is your unreserved, enthusiastic, and joyful self. Thank you, and good luck.